Hey, welcome to my video. I'm Jennifer Roberts and I'm back. I know I'm back and forth trying to get content out and trying to be regular, but we've been getting busy on the ground here as is needed in the UK, very much so. So I wanted to speak a little bit about what is going on regarding the Insulate Britain. So they are a ridiculous, pompous movement that is claiming that all of everything that is going on right now can be fixed almost by insulating every home in Britain. Now, I wanted to pull some cards and also just speak on what and who and why they are. As you know, I've been active on the protest scene and building connections and relations with people in that scene and trying to make some movement, some flow of energy to create a change for the positive rather than the negative. So then we have been depicted, and we've been very careful thus far to have very peaceful protests and have people there maintain their composure. Now, that scene is changing rapidly as I predicted, but also we have still maintained that composure, deliberately so. Now, if the story was to be told in a more truthful perspective, it would be said that many times throughout this movement, the police have deliberately been very, very violent, very pushy, very arrogant. And that has been it's been twisted on the media and delivered as very much more few people attending these marches, protests, rallies than there really was. There was always a lot more than depicted, and also that we were, causing such a trouble, and it wasn't really washing, although a lot of sleep people were buying that. Not enough of the numbers of the people of the collective were actually buying that, because we, as a movement, had been very careful to not be antagonizing, to actually put up with antagonizing behavior deliberately, so to maintain that composure. And so at that point, we see that these Insulate Britain come along. Now, instead of like our freedom rallies, for instance, where there were millions in London regularly being ignored by mainstream media, we see that this Insulate Britain is getting, I'm proud of this, is getting huge amounts of viewing time, of minutes, and being spoken about over and over again. And we've seen that they've used this for many reasons. Part of the narrative is, and we've got the Emperor in reverse there. This is, depicting, because of what I'm pulling for, the controlling system, and it's a very negative one. It is in reverse. It is wanting to micromanage, control, and using corruption and games and strategy, strategy being the main word here, to maintain their narrative, maintain their plans, and maintain their set goals, and the reality of those set goals coming to pass. So what they've done is they have allowed much viewing time to be spent on this Insulate Britain. One of the strategies of this kind of energy is that it is for the asleep or the on the fences, you've got them tying us in the same bracket, the same type of movement as these Insulate Britain. So in their minds, we become just as much of a problem, just as ridiculous, just as difficult, just as crazy, just as antagonistic. We become the same as this Insulate Britain. All of the things that the news readers are saying about Insulate Britain, of how ridiculous they are, how bad they are, blah, 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 that is working in the favor of, it is then now a reflection on us that have been really working hard in these rallies to not disrupt people's lives who are going day by day, but just to make it a noise, allow them to have the opportunity at least to know that there are people against this, and even give information along the way to maybe get some on the fences to open their eyes up to some of the situations that are going on. So that's one thing. We are then tied into the same bracket as this ridiculous movement, even though we have not disrupted people's lives, stopped people from getting stocks to shops so that people can buy food and what have you, stopped people from getting to hospital, as these Insulate Britain have, or it's been reported that they have, then we in their minds have done the same thing. It doesn't matter that we never did it. It's just that the seed is planted, the inference is there that we are the same as them. So that's one key strategy. The other key strategy is that it is about transport, isn't it? The other main storyline in the next strategy is gas, being able to move around. So the first part of this plan, they fix people in their homes, and now there's this level of, oh, freedom, we've got this. No, they're just putting in the next plan, the next section of the plan of towards the goal that they want. So at that point, we see that we then have the story being tied into not being able to move freely, being stopped. It is actually even planting a seed in people's minds of the constraints that I see coming if we don't stop what is coming in this country, which would be blockades. Is it ballards? No, ballards? No. Bollards, no, not bollards, like concrete blockades, checkpoints like they have in America at certain states, you know, armed guard checkpoints where literally, so from County Durham to Newcastle, you would have to go through a checkpoint. This is to, again, plant the seed in people's minds that this is coming, and so it's not quite as shocking. It is also tying into the gas story, because this Insulate Britain claims to be all about, you know, greener energy and reducing the footprint and whatnot. We see that that ties into the narrative of it's a good thing that the military would be called in to stop this kind of these kinds of terrible people, these groups of idiots that are protesting and blocking the roads. So it gives them an in for the military to come in. And it also ties in with the gas story, the military making sure that it's rationed between people. Again, limiting movement, limiting the ability for people to get to other people. And so it is a numbers game and a division game. So actually this Insulate Britain seems ridiculous, seems just very annoying, and very much in the way. But as far as the plans go with the Emperor in reverse, it actually is far more serious than it looks. In the seeds that are being planted in people's minds, the tying in of the reflections, or the teaming in people's minds, the people who are actually wanting to fight for those people's freedoms actually being the same caliber of movement, the same caliber of peoples that actually are just annoying. They just want to cause trouble. The notions, the things they speak about are ridiculous, as in the things that these Insulate Britain people are coming out with are ridiculous, which in people's minds, MK ultra styly, all of a sudden that seed is planted when we're on the next rally, and we've noticed this, and trying to talk to people where they were a little bit more open at the start of all of this. Now they are just angry. They don't even want to speak. They don't even want you to look at them. You're a different species. And I claimed that would happen. I predicted that would happen because of what's going on in their bodies, the duplications going on in their bodies, and bingo, we're seeing it right now. And the mainstream media and the government are, you know, helping that happen through these seemingly idiotic stories that seem to take up a load of airtime for no apparent good reason. Actually, it is all part of a very clever plan of a lattice work of checkpoints, of ticks for them to do, so that there is that extra division of the unV'd and the very much V'd, if you get what I'm saying. And the people against the machine and the people who want the machine literally inside of them. And so we're seeing that this Insulate Britain now is actually it's actually very much something to take notice of, because it is going to affect us in us being the people who want to rage against this nefarious machine and create change for the better. And so, oh wow, so we've got that now. One of the visions that I've been having is blockades, like I say, between different counties in the UK, to try and limit people being able to get to other people. It makes it easier, and coming in with the gas, with this Nine of Pentacles in reverse. This is earth, this is money, this is fuel, this is people, this is things, this is the reality that we're in now. Whereas in the upright, this would be abundance, this would be enough for all, you know, a balance between the give and the take, and the giving and the taking creates even more. In the reverse, this is very greedy energy, thief type energy, wanting to keep, wanting to segregate and section off abundance, things that help you sustain and maintain life. And so this would be those bollards, what is the word? Concrete bollard, like concrete big bollards, you know, when they're working on the motorway at the minute with that 5G, you know, they're wanting, I'm having to do this for YouTube, it's ridiculous. They've got those concrete sort of temporary, but not that temporary bollards, you know, to stop you from going into where the builders are. Those are what I'm saying, but military posted county to county, or every other county maybe, to try and limit movement. Now that would be coming in on the gas story, which is also linked in people's minds already, because Insulate Britain, this movement that is getting so much news time, is all about saving the planet and whatnot, and reducing the footprint of the UK. And so this is where this all ties in, and this is how they work. They literally are writing like movie scripts, you know, and playing them out, and having people's emotions and physical lives, you know, be changed and swayed by that, especially when they're hooking into the sleep-in, because the sleep-in are just very much sleepwalking into the trap of associating their fellow man, their fellow woman, as some who are naturally people within this movement that I know well, that want the greatness for people. They want the betterment of people. They want to change how things are done systemically, for everyone, not just for themselves, and in particular the children. These sleeping people are now very much sleeping into the trap, walking into the trap, sleepwalking into the trap of tying us in with the ridiculous notion that Insulate Britain is. As far as the borders, we see that today they've blocked off the borders. Now, this is what we have seen also, that the police, because of the news time and because of the type of script that this is that is playing out in front of us, the police are acting in a very different way. Yes, they've made some arrests now, but very gentle arrests. It's been made a ridiculous yet big story all over the news over and over again about even asking the police, even asking if they're okay, are they comfortable, do they need a drink, whereas it is a very different story on the ground, where people are really trying to fight and make noise for good change, and to stop nefarious plans. And so again, that is part of the strategy. It's giving the airtime, the news time, to actually get the sleep-in, to beg the government to allow the police to have more powers, to be able to have the power to pick these idiots up off the motorway that are stopping people getting to hospital, which is a heartbreaking story for one, if it's true. somebody suffered a stroke, I think, in one of the cars that was stuck in the motorway. So they're actually setting the scene also with this Emperor in reverse and this Nine of Pentacles in reverse for the people to ask. And this is where they don't take away free will, they bend it, they manipulate it, they put disfigured and disrupted scenes in front of people's eyes, and they make people sway with their own decisions. So they do need a permission a lot. And I know that is on a spiritual level and a physical level. And they get this permission by playing out these ridiculous scripts. And so this is part of the script also, that it will have very, very soon, it will have people getting more and more irate about wanting the police to have these powers that can be much more brutal, much more Australian-esque at the moment, to be able to remove ridiculous people like this that are having these ridiculous movements and these ridiculous notions. And so that is another aspect of this plan. It is also with them blocking off the I've forgotten what you call it now, with the motorway part where the port is. This is also setting in people's minds that it is people like us on these freedom rallies and movements and whatnot. My hands are all battered and bruised off the garden. It is people like us that actually are part of the problem regarding the stuff that they need to buy, with the produce, with the deliveries that aren't coming in. Again, in people's minds, the seed is being planted that we are them and they are us, and so whatever, as ridiculous as they are, and no matter what we say, no matter what facts we put before a lot of these people who are listening to this mainstream media, they will shut down. They will just say that they will actually beg, like they did for the infusions. They will beg for the government to come in and micromanage with this Emperor in reverse and give the police even more powers and permissions to be more violent. Now, Insulate Britain won't see any of that violence. Insulate Britain won't see any of that corruption. I think, well, I feel psychically that there are a few paid actors in that movement, and just a few idiots in that movement. But you know, very much so, I can see the money in that movement. This is where they won't see that violence, or if they do, it'll be staged. We will. On our side of it, be behind the scenes, so to speak. You know, they're the main screen and we're the runners, and we're being treated like shit by the actors, you know, the higher paid or the uniformed actors. And so that's where this is going. And so it's something I'm going to keep an eye on. It's something I'm going to speak out about for sure, because it angers me for sure. It is a very overplayed part of the way that the governments work. You know, these storylines that I see going, and I can look behind them, both just obviously and psychically, and touch into it and see that it's so annoying that they're managing to not even have to come up with new material. They just keep regurgitating the same material with different headlines, different actors, different labels. And so we've got the Judgment card. So it's two major arcanas, the Emperor and the Judgment card. Now this one's in the upright at the end here, and this is where I think of Moses, you know, leading the people. That's what comes to mind for me here. The people being very much led by the Pied Piper to the end of the story, that is the wants and needs of these beings that puppet the governments behind the scenes. And this is all. They are very much tied into it, and it's very much a story to take note of. It's very hard to counteract. It's a good way of doing what they're doing, because they are using the power of the sleeping people to coerce and help them make choices with their own free will, to actually beg for division, to beg for corruption, to beg for violence, to beg for police military state. And all of these stories, like a spider's web or like lattice work of a basket, they tie into each other and bolster each other. And so it is very difficult. And I do see a lot of people in like the Freedom Rally type movements, the For Children movements. I do see a lot of people really suffering at home with this too, with this Nine of Pentacles, in that those that are in your family that of course you love and adore, that are still watching mainstream media, they're going to start getting at you. One, because they're nervous of you being tied in with these people, and two, because they're falling for it. They're starting to worry about people who are, you know, loved ones who are in the freedom movement fighting against the government, because they're starting to think, are they crazy? Have they lost the plot? It's really difficult, and that is something that's going to be very difficult for people to deal with, and it's going to take a lot of balance to deal with. Now we've got on the bottom of the deck the Six of Swords in reverse again, a lot of reversed, a lot of upside down energy. The Six of Swords would usually mean growth and movement to calmer waters. This shows me that this is a storyline to keep watching, to keep abreast of, and be aware of the ramifications of it. Not mainly for the aware people, but more the ramifications of what the sleeping people are going to actually beg for and claim from the government and want from the government. This extra micromanagement, this extra corruption, this increase of violence, and so much more. So I might touch on this story again because they're running it into the ground for sure, but this is something to be aware of. So stay balanced and stay whole in the chaos that this is going to create, and speak out about it. You know, I wouldn't try and give them too much airtime, but maybe share this video or make your own comparisons to get ahead of the game. We need to get ahead of this story somehow, some way, whether we need to go as the Freedom Rally and we go and actually block them from getting on the motorway. We need to be as dynamic as that, I feel, to get past this, to fizzle out at least this one part of their plan, this one strategy in their plan, you know, to maybe show that actually we, the people, want the produce to come through. We want the gas to come through because that maintains some level of movement and freedom. We are fighting for people to have a life that is not difficult, that can be enjoyed. So actually if the police can't do their job, we will do what we're claiming to do. We will go and block the motorways, not blocking the motorways from the cars, but block you from getting on the motorway, you ridiculous twats. And so, and a lot of you paid ridiculous twats. So that's maybe something that we could do. Reach out to me if that's something you, I don't know, you want to talk more about. I don't know, you know, what can we be blamed for then? You know, what we're making the traffic move, we're allowing people to still go on with their lives, get to a hospital if they need to, you know, get to work if they need to, allow the life to flow. What could we be told off for then? You know, if we're just literally blocking the whatever entrances these people are using to get to the motorways. So maybe that's something that we could actually start to get ahead of a story and like putting salt, you know, on ice, just fizzle that aspect of it out a bit, slow that storyline down a little bit, because it's at that point when we can get ahead of these storylines that we would actually be gaining some ground. So just thought you would like this psychic insight. Leave a comment, come over to my YouTube, BitChute channel, True Divine 44, Instagram, Twitter, it's The True Divine, Facebook, True Divine 44. I appreciate and love everybody that I'm moving with at the moment, and I appreciate and love you in advance for sharing the content and coming over and subscribing and maybe reaching out, and let's see if we can put some salt on this ice and see what we can do. Actually, that's a bit of a slip, isn't it? 'Cause they're going on about the, you know, the carbon footprint and ice melting. Yeah, it could be like a narrative of our own to try and get some movement here, that when they're coming up with these paid actors to tie us in the same bracket as them, maybe we can get ahead of it for once and do something proactive that would actually make the sleeping people be aware that, oh, they're not the same. They're actually people who are saying what they mean they are actually wanting life to be life, to be in flow, to not be restricted. And so yeah, something we could think about. Much love, balance and wholeness. Mwah.